Well, speaking of people who put hardware out there without doing proper quality control, our second
Yeah.
PSA.
Yeah, and so this one is going to come from a live stream that CycloneFPV did. This is going to remind you a lot of an old story we did about AU line, all line, gold line
Gold line. Yeah,
battery.
CycloneFPV is like the good guy of FPV lately they're a dealer, so they get this stuff and then they
Yeah,
test it.
Yeah, he was reached out to by one of his customers. He bought this charger. He took it home, and it was not working properly. It would not let him charge. And so he was like, "All right, let's do this on stream because that's what we do here." So he threw it on stream, and you can see, like, I think this is the second one he pulled out.
Yeah.
But basically, this is the same symptom. There's nothing plugged into the port, and you're getting voltage, and then it's reading the incorrect voltage on both the balance port and the lead. But he basically in the stream he goes through and cuts open the boxes for 10 of these.
And this is retail units that CycloneFPV purchased to sell to their customers.
Yes. Exactly.
He is eating these. Well, I mean, presumably he's going to try to get ToolKitRC to take them back. So hopefully he doesn't eat them. But worth saying, some stores would just have... A lot of stores, their policy is if you get a bad product, you just accept the fact that in FPV, sometimes products are bad and we're going to just send you another one. No questions asked. And that's fine. That's fine if you have a flight controller, maybe. Like, I mean, JBF7s do not have a 0% defect rate. And so sometimes you put a JBF7 on your quad and it has a bad gyro. And then you go to race day quads and they give you another one and they say, sorry for the inconvenience. And that's a fact. But with LiPo chargers, I feel like that's like, oh, sorry, your LiPo charger lit your battery on fire. To be clear, we're not saying that happened in this specific case, but hypothetically, if a LiPo charger's messed up, it certainly could. And CycloneFPV did the right thing on a live stream where they had everything to lose.
Yeah, so there's a few things to say. A couple of people are saying they're uncalibrated, but I should not have to calibrate 8 volts off of an XT60 connector when I pull a charger out of the box. That's freaking insane.
8 volts, forget it.
Yeah, but so let me also say, like, he went through all of these. All 10 were bad in some way. They all had some issue or another. One had a balance lead that was actually not soldered and the pin would push in. Multiple of them had balance leads that were not giving proper voltage. They were 1 or 2 volts, under. A couple of them had those XT60s with 8 or more volts that were off. And then there were also stuff like 2 or 3 of them didn't power on at all. One of them, LCD, did not work. One of them only worked on DC voltage. It's just like it was a variety of issues across these. And I think that's the biggest issue here. If this was one problem where all the first pin on the first balance port didn't get soldered on all these chargers. Well, okay, but that's like a QC check you missed, right?
Right.
If all these problems are here, like, to me, that's a huge, that's like totally different. And that means there's a bunch of pieces missing.
Chad Rains FPV says, and of course we have no way of validating this claim, but Chad Rains FPV says, I also sell these M4Q and they have been terrible. I opened 2 of them. The PCB design is a joke. Revisions all over, and currently 7 of the 8 I sold have failed. Mr. Huggy in the Discord posts this image, which he says is a calibrated charger. And if you look, B3 is way off, right? And Blunty, when we hear a story like this, obviously we're not just we wouldn't be responsible journalists. We're not journalists. We wouldn't be responsible content creators if we just took one report and then we were like, ToolKitRC, and just. But this goes all the way back to the very first ToolKitRC charger, which I don't remember the model number, the M6D or the M8 or something, which had crazy problems exactly like this. Miscalibrated, balance lead reads wrong, just dies. And so ToolKitRC does not have this, they don't even have a neutral reputation. They have, I find this 1000% plausible.
Yeah, and one of the problems here is, like, the last place you want to see this happen, obviously there are safeties in there, but obviously the last place you want to see this happen is on a charger. Luckily the voltages are higher than expected instead of lower, so it doesn't seem like it can overcharge, but some of the balances are lower, and if they all happen to be too low, could think they're all low enough, hopefully there's no way for you to accidentally break something with one of these chargers, even though they're so poorly made. But I don't know that there's any way to confirm that, and it's just dangerous. It's scary to me. Like a flight controller is a quad's going to drop out of the sky, an ESC,
which is bad. Which is bad. To be fair, that's bad.
Which is bad. Yeah, but a charger is like a battery is going to get overcharged in my house.
Yeah.
And or on the back porch or wherever you're charging. Like you should be charging safely, but watching it, you could still see. Like if the voltage isn't reading properly, how do you know it's at a spec and stuff? Like there's all these pieces to this puzzle.
Right. And we have to acknowledge that there are people in the chat who are saying, I've had a ToolKitRC charger. It's been great. And the thing is, with any product, most of the people who get the product will have a good result, probably. Now, I mean, CycloneFPV says 10 out of 10 were bad. Maybe they're having a particularly bad run of luck right now. But the fact that some people, or even the majority of people, have a good experience when you're talking about a LiPo charger that theoretically could light a battery on fire by overcharging it.
Yeah.
What are the odds that you're okay with? Is it 5%? Is it 1%? Right. Is it 0.1%? What defect rate is acceptable to you? And I think for a charger, the defect rate has to be very, very low. So ToolKitRC, I actually checked before the live stream, Blunty. ToolKitRC, one of their chargers is on my shopping list. I will be pulling it off. And I feel like this is like, there's too many good choices I don't know how they can redeem their reputation.
Yeah.
To me.
Prove that they're doing any QC at all, because like the issue is again that there's multiple problems. If there was one or two problems, but these that don't like power on when you plug them in, when the LCD doesn't work, that's kind of a different level of like, this is broken. And to me, that means there's no QC. So yeah, I think it's hard to redeem when you're not doing anything to check your products when they go out the door.
Yeah. Jory in the Discord, I am on the fence about whether to discuss your personal experience with the owner of CycloneFPV, because it's not entirely relevant to whether the chargers made by ToolKitRC are good or bad. I feel like a balance that I'm willing to strike is to say that I have heard 2 or 3 reports from customers of CycloneFPV who said that they had a personally awful experience trying to get a dispute handled, including some unprofessional behavior by the owner. I can't vouch for any of that, and I will say,
most of that stuff is live streamed. If you want to get an idea of how he is, watch his live streams. Like you can immediately see. Yeah. Like he goes through and like he will, like if somebody RMAs a product, like if somebody like returns a charger, or somebody returns a radio, so a lot of times he will open it on camera, look at that, and then kind of cover it and say like, hey, here's what I think's wrong with it. Here, let's go through this drone. I'll plug it into Beta Flight in front of you. Let's see what's wrong. Yeah. And then he tries to make that decision on camera a lot of times. I think my opinion of the situation is that he does the best he can to support his customers, but he does not just take shit back. Right. A lot of retailers will just take shit back or push stuff onto the end company.
I mean, I don't want to make this about him personally. I feel like I will say I agree with you that the things he's doing on live stream are indisputably good for FPV and good for his customers. Yeah. I think that some of the messages I've seen I would call unprofessional, but not everybody's desire. I mean, if you go to a construction site, you're going to hear some unprofessional language, and if he has a dispute with you, he may not behave in a professional manner, and maybe you're okay with that. Some people aren't. Anyway.
Yeah. I think I just want to say one more thing. There's 2 different pieces to this. One is professionalism, and 2 is like actually doing the right thing for the customer and whether the product was bad or not. Okay. He may not be professional, but I do believe he is handling each thing properly as it should be handled. From everything that I've seen, everything that I've covered, and everyone I've talked to, that's been the case.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, all right, fair enough. Enough said about that. I don't want to, the reason I mention it at all is I don't want to get in a situation where I'm just blowing smoke about somebody without acknowledging sometimes that there's a flip side to it. But at the same time, I don't want to get into interpersonal drama either.
Sure.
Anyway, ToolKitRC, your chargers, you're on probation. You're not on probation. You're on, what is it? Probation. You're not, I'm not, I don't like your chargers anymore.
You're banned.
Banned suggests it's forever. And I guess that's too strong of a word.
Yeah.
Probation suggests that you're still playing the game. You're benched. You're benched. You're on the bench, ToolKitRC. I want to see some hustle in practice. We'll think about putting you back in, maybe next season. Okay.
All right.